In Bolivia, aggressive extremist groups attacked and vandalized public buildings, including the TV station in the department of Santa Cruz. In the United States, Winter Storm Elliot has claimed 39 lives so far in New York alone. And the Haitian Ministry of Health reported on Friday 362 deaths by cholera despite the vaccination campaign. Hello and welcome to teleSUR English. I am Estefania Bravo from the headquarters of Quito in Ecuador. This is from the south. In Bolivia on Friday, Santa Cruz Governor Luis Fernando Camacho was taken to the prison of Chonchocoro in La Paz, where he will be held pending trial on the case of the coup d'etat. The governor of Santa Cruz was transferred in a caravan of 4 cars and will be subjected to rigorous procedures. The transfer took place after the 8th Criminal Investigation Court of La Paz ordered Camacho's pretrial detention for 4 months. Although Camacho's defense lawyers filed a motion for illegality in the arrest, the plaintiffs asked for it to be dismissed for lack of evidence. And Bolivian extremist groups increased attacks on public buildings and vandalized the facade of the state television station in the department of Santa Cruz. The aggressors set fire of part of the structures of the headquarters of the Forest and Land Authority with a Molotov cocktail bomb, attacked the National Tax Office, and destroyed the facade of the Abya Yala TV station. However, the fire department managed to arrive in a timely manner to control the flames. The death toll in the state of New York alone has risen to 39 as a result of the winter storm Elliot affecting the United States. The political head of Erie County, the hardest hit county in the state, Mark Poloncarz, indicated that the medical examiner's office has already confirmed 39 deaths, 31 of them registered in Buffalo, the county's main city. He also indicated that all the victims have been identified and that activities in the state are returning to normal, with the resumption of basic services after acts of vandalism and looting. In the U.S., authorities seized more than 1 million fentanyl pills near the Mexican border. U.S. Customs and Border Protection reported that more than 1.2 million fentanyl pills and 17 kilograms of methamphetamine were seized at the Nogales port of the entry in the state of Arizona. The border agency indicated that the pills were hidden in different ways to cross the border, such as gas tanks, floors, doors, and vehicle panels. United States House Ways and Means Committee released 6 years of Donald Trump's individual and corporate tax returns on Friday. The release included hundreds of pages grouped into 46 documents and a gigabyte worth of data. It comes a week after 2 congressional reports summarized that the former president was reporting huge losses, largely offsetting his tax liability and in some cases reducing it to zero. In Colombia, the government of Gustavo Petro faced several challenges in economic matters, high levels of unemployment, poverty that increased during the period of Iván Duque, and a historic fiscal deficit, points that are intended to be overcome through a tax reform that is focused on addressing these aspects and the redistribution of income to benefit historically disadvantaged sectors. From Bogotá, our correspondent Hernán Tovar has more.
The government of Gustavo Petro received a country with some 19 million people below the poverty line and unemployment reaching 12%. To address these challenges, the government has proposed a tax reform that aims to raise close to $4 billion by 2023 to be invested mainly in social programs. The measure included a surtax on income for large companies, high-income individuals, and the hydrocarbons sector. This is a policy that some analysts consider unsustainable in the long term.
es que si no se crean fuentes de riqueza que permitan engrosar la masa que se va a repartir, digamos.
The structural problem is that if sources of wealth are not created to increase the amount to be distributed, the fund is limited, so poverty can be alleviated temporarily, which is positive and beneficial, and we cannot deny the positive aspects of any money that comes to the inhabitants living in the worst conditions. It is good and welcome, but the stability of these resources depends a lot on whether the large resources are invested productively, and that is the part that is a bit confusing and ambiguous.
Buena, es bien recibida, pero la estabilidad de esos recursos depende mucho de que los grandes recursos se logren invertir productivamente.
The economic model established in the country that for many years sought progress through the deterioration of income distribution, deepening inequalities, now seeks to prioritize the historically excluded social sectors with economic aid and subsidize. The weakness, according to economic scholars, lies in the fact that these policies are not accompanied by more productivity and expansion of employment.
No ha complementado esa política con un esfuerzo para elevar el ahorro y la producción.
It has not supported this policy with an effort to increase savings and production, so that the improvement of the least favored groups is not so much through the transfer of government income, but through higher employment and higher labor productivity or higher wages.
Sino a través de mayor empleo y mayor productividad del trabajo, es decir, mayores salarios.
The old tax methodology that benefits the wealthiest sectors of society in order to generate more employment has not worked in this country. Currently, the number of unemployed in Colombia reaches 3 million, one of the main challenges facing the government of Gustavo Petro for the next 3.5 years of his mandate.
El crecimiento económico es débil en la economía colombiana, siempre ha estado en los últimos años, ha estado vinculado.
Economic growth is weak in the Colombian economy. In recent years, it has been linked to the hydrocarbon sector with the financial sector, which are sectors that generate jobs, but not enough, and these resources do not end up being distributed among society. The perspective that encourages the national government, the current President Petro, is precisely that redistribution is necessary, that the tax system must have a redistributive, progressive character, as the Constitution says, and several of the most important economists in the world today are in agreement.
Redistributivo, progresivo, y está en concordancia con varios de los economistas más importantes a nivel mundial en la actualidad.
This new progressive government has also the great challenge of covering a fiscal gap in the nation of 5.6% of the GDP according to the economic authorities, while the public debt is around 56.5% of the gross domestic product. Aspects that the tax reform already sanctioned by the government on December 16th and which comes into effect on January 1st, 2023, seeks to address.
Hernán Darío Tobar, TeleSUR, Bogotá,
A
Colombia.
continuación se dirige a ustedes el señor presidente de la
We're taking our first break now. Join us again after this, and also don't forget to follow us on our TikTok account at teleSUR English for more. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. More news now. 3 days of mourning were decreed by the Brazilian government for the physical departure of the legendary football player Edson Arantes do Nascimento, known as Pele. The mourning period began on Thursday and it will remain in force until December 31st, according to a decree published in the official Gazette of the Union. And the death of Pele at the age of 82 has provoked multiple manifestations of love in the world. The main buildings and monuments are tinged as verde amarelo.
The death of Pele has choked the entire planet, both inside and outside the football world. The first reactions were not long in coming, starting in his own country. All of Brazil was dressed in mourning, although the night gave way to the green and yellow colors of its flag, which covered the most emblematic place, such as the Maracanã Stadium. The Santos Stadium is getting ready to host next Monday the funeral chapel of Orey of Soccer, the only one with 3 World Cups to his name, awaiting the tens of thousands of fans who will come to bid him a final farewell. Santos will study the possibility of retiring the number 10 that immortalized Pele, who died on Thursday at the age of 82, announced the president of the Brazilian club, Andrés Rueda, on Friday. The South American Soccer Confederation and the Mercado McCann Agency launched a campaign to replace 3 of the 5 stars on the Brazilian national team's jersey with hearts as a tribute to Pelé and his hometown.
The Central Bank of Venezuela reported on Friday that the country's gross domestic product grew by 17.73% in January-September 2022. The banking institution pointed out that this result makes 5 consecutive quarters in which positive variations are evidenced in most of the country's economic activities, which reflected the favorable performance of the national productive apparatus. On Friday, the Panamanian Union leader Saúl Méndez asserted that organized locals will maintain their demands for social justice in 2023. In a message to the country, the General Secretary of the Union of Construction Workers, Saúl Méndez, asserted that an originary constituent assembly to refound the state is vital in this path. This implies a popular consultation similar to a referendum. Regarding the protests of last July, he indicated that they were an expression of popular will, and thanks to the unity showed it was possible to paralyze the country in the face of the high cost of living. Cholera cases in Haiti continue to increase. The Ministry of Health has reported 362 deaths from the disease on Friday. The latest epidemiological report indicates that there are more than 19,000 suspected cases and 1,427 confirmed cases. Hospital records also confirm around 16,000 admissions of symptomatic patients. We're taking one last short break now. Join us again after this. And also don't forget to follow me on my Twitter account at teleSUR for more news. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. More news now. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday extended holidays and 2023 New Year's greetings to heads of foreign states and governments, as well as leaders of international organizations. The Russian head of state warmly congratulated his Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan, emphasizing that mutually beneficial relations between Russia and Turkey are dynamically developing. In his letter to Bolivian President Luis Arce, Putin expressed his confidence that all bilateral cooperation projects will be successfully implemented. India's first underwater rail tunnel will enter service in December 2023. The structure will cover the east-west corridor of the Kolkata Metro. It was designed under the Hooghly River in the state of West Bengal. Trains will take just 45 seconds to cross the 520-meter underwater tunnel, 13 meters below the riverbed and 33 meters underground. Kolkata Metro Rail Corporation Managing Director Sailesh Kumar affirmed that the metro line will reduce travel time between the 2 points to 40 minutes compared to the current 90 times by road, and will also ease vehicle congestion on both sides. And moving on, Pope Emeritus Benedict, of 95 years old, was stable on Friday after experiencing a deterioration in his health and was able to participate in a private mass in his room, the Vatican reported. In a new medical bulletin from the Holy Headquarters, it was known that Benedict II was able to rest well for a second night. Vatican spokesman Matteo Bruni added that he also took part in the celebration of Holy Mass in his room yesterday afternoon. On Friday, 10 workers were killed in an attack by radicals on buses in the eastern Syrian province of Deir ez-Zor. According to Sana correspondent reports, 3 buses in the Al-Time oil field were targeted in an attack that killed a decent of workers, while 2 others were wounded. Commenting on the criminal action, the Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources told state television that the Syrian people are suffering from an oil crisis caused by the U.S. occupier who, through his puppets and terrorist groups, and wants to steal the remaining available oil that ensures the minimum needs of the locals. In Togo, news of China reopening its borders to the world have been welcomed by local traders. The Asian giant will lift its COVID quarantine for overseas arrivals starting on January 8th, 2023, after 3 years of tight restrictions. In Togo's largest market, 2/3 of products come from China. Thus, traders are pleased to be able to resume their annual trips to the world center economy. According to the World Bank, the West African nation imported goods from China worth more than $400 million in 2020. And with that story, we've come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, don't forget to follow us on our socials. We're on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram as well. We wish you here from TeleSUR Happy New Year. For TeleSUR English, I am Stefania Bravo. Until next year.